There was a decapitated head on the floor, and blood, dismembered arms and legs, clothing strewn on the floor, and the man who did it was apologizing to me, begging me for forgiveness. And part of me didn't want to forgive him, because I had spent a good week or two carving and in the wood shop and in the print shop, cutting, designing, sewing, stuffing, gluing, buying really expensive archival quality art supplies and making multiples because I was a printmaker and this was conceptual printmaking. I made 4 dolls in capsules with a marble so that if you were to shake the toy, which was the object, slowly the doll would fall apart and bits of red fabric would bleed out like blood and the head would come off. But this guy in critique was so masculine and he was shaking that thing and he smashed it on the ground and it went psh, and all of a sudden it was bloody murder. Everyone was really shocked that he had broke my artwork, and I was too, and my professor thought it was great. And at the end of the semester show, I had the 3 dolls that were still in their capsules, just kind of leaking a little bit of blood, but still with their head and their arms still on. And then I had this one that had just been ruined and just bloody all over the place, open for the air to go on it. And I felt pretty good about myself, and I excused myself to dinner. And when I came back, someone came up to me and said, "Anja, a man in a suit wants to buy your set of dolls." And I was shocked because no one ever came into the printmaking department to actually buy art. They'd go to like ceramics and get themselves something functional that they could use every day. And I was also shocked because I was like, what sort of sick person would want to buy an artwork called "Not Until You're Broken and Bleeding, Young Miss"? So I called this man, and we arranged a time to meet, and then I was like, oh, now I have to figure out how much it's worth. So the usual formula for artists is the amount of time you spend times your hourly wage plus materials. I didn't do that. I did, this is the Midwest, I'm an art school student, nobody knows who I am, I'm practically a little girl, my parents take care of me, you know, it doesn't matter, and this guy is sick. So I figured the work that was worth $1,600, I'll sell it to him for $80, so it won't be sitting in my house for the rest of my life. And so I met up with him, and he handed me $80 check, and he said, "Boy, this is such a deal." And I said, "You don't even know." And I went back to my studio, and I saw Dan, who was also a fellow who was targeted by this man in the suit who sold artwork. And Dan and I were talking, and Dan was talking about his work. He had sold 4 works as well, screen prints of George Bush on newsprint. Now let me tell you, a silk screen, no offense to silk screeners, is a really easy process where you go on the computer, you find an image of George Bush, you print it out, you burn it onto his screen, and then you go, and wow, you have an image. And he had printed it on the world's cruddiest paper. He printed it on newsprint, which is the same paper that they make newspapers out of. It turns yellow in 3 years and crumbles and disintegrates completely in 10. My work was completely archival. And Dan was saying, yeah, so I sold him 4 works for $2,000 each. So a total of $8,000. And all I wanted was $1,600. And at that point, I realized this is unequal pay, gender inequality in action. I had just completely devalued my own worth. And at that moment, I realized I don't want to be broken and bleeding, young miss. I want to earn a living as an artist doing what I love, and I am never going to let this happen again. Thank you.